Bates Motel Season 2 finale, The Immutable Truth. This was a great season finale, and it ended very similarly to the Season 1 finale, where everything wrapped up fairly perfectly, and this almost could have been the end of the series, aside from some of the very natural things that are obviously going to carry on into Season 3, which I do believe this show was renewed for Season 2 as well as Season 3 before Season 2 even came out. So if I am correct, we are guaranteed to have a Season 3 of Bates Motel, which is really, really good. This show, one of the greatest things about this show is that both Season 1 as well as this season are very short. They have their stories, they don't try to expand them really far. It's just one of those stories that they have where things just happen to wrap up within a good couple of episodes. And it's really interesting. I kind of wish the show was longer just because I like the show so much, and the suspense is just really well done. But the writers for this show don't make the show longer just to make it longer, which a ton of TV shows do, like pretty much every show on the planet, because they kind of want to keep shows going. But this show does what it needs to do in its set of episodes. It doesn't just say, like, let's just throw out 20 episodes just to have a really long season. They stick to their small amount of episodes. And I think season 1 was only 8. This one was only 10 episodes. This was the season finale was the 10th episode, and they really only did 2 more episodes this season, but it was a much better season overall. And it's just, the writing for the show is so well done that they don't need to do a billion episodes per season. They can do their 10 little episodes, and it's still an insanely incredible season that other shows will have double the amount of episodes just to be as good as this show, which only has 10 episodes in it. But it was a great season finale. There are a lot of things in it that I didn't expect, and most of which revolved around Dillon and the whole drug war storyline for this season. And without a doubt, after the ending with that storyline, I was like, that was the best part of this season, hands down. Like, there were some great things in this season that revolved around Norman. Obviously, one of the biggest things was whether or not he was going to get busted for killing his teacher. But to me, everything was just the whole drug war going on. We got to see the other side of the drug war. We had so many different elements put into this season as far as the drug war, and just who was in control, what crazy things ended up happening when certain leaders died, and just simple stuff like that that are just very intricate details in the drug world. And that was a huge catalyst for this entire season. It basically, if it weren't for that, then the season finale probably wouldn't have happened the way it did, because there would just be characters not in it. But it was an amazing wrap up for that storyline, and I'm very curious to see how things take place in season 3, because what I initially thought was Nick Ford's dead, so he was the other side. He was the competitor to Dillon's people, and he was going to be dead, and Dillon's people would basically just be happy. It's like, hey, Nick Ford's dead. Zane can come out of hiding. He might not be in charge. He could go somewhere else, and Dillon could take control over his portion of the city, and everything just works out, and his people expand like crazy. But instead of that happening and things are just fine like they should have been, when Nick Ford dies, Dillon and Remero team up, and it's like, okay, we have to find some way to say that this guy was killed by somebody. And they were going to choose Zane, and even his sister was going to let that happen, because, I mean, she was obviously going to let Dillon go kill him, but Dillon did his thing in the last episode to basically just check security. And she decided to work with Dillon and Remero and set up her brother. And I thought it was going to be simple. He was going to come to the house and be real surprised, and they were going to pin the murder on him, and they might have a little struggle dealing with it as far as the political stuff goes, and him basically just giving out all the secrets. That's what I thought was going to be the hard part. And then he gets to the house, and there's really not much talking. He cuts the power, he goes in. I instantly thought Remero was dead, of course, because just bullets started flying as soon as he left the room. But the last thing I expected was for the woman to die. I didn't think that she would get killed off this season, or at all, really. I thought she was introduced because she's the head of this side of the drug world, and the reason they introduced her is because her and Dillon got fairly close, and then she would eventually have to deal with the fact that her brother had to be killed because he's an idiot and just does stupid stuff. And instead, her idiot brother comes into the house and actually kills her, and then Remero kills him, and I thought that was the last thing I expected to happen in this episode. That was probably the biggest surprise I got out of the entire episode, honestly, is that everyone just got killed off. Like every head member of any side of the drug world just dead. Nick Ford died last episode. Zane and the head of the other side. I wish I could remember her name, especially considering she died. But both of them died, and now the only person that's really left is Dillon. And Romero gives him that little talk like, I want, like, there's a vacuum right now because both sides have lost their heads. So there's a huge vacuum, and it's going to be filled by somebody because that's pretty much how the entire city runs, is on drugs. So someone's going to have to fill the leader's shoes, and Romero wants it to be Dillon because Dillon, as he put it, knows the rules. He knows what he can and cannot do. And I'd love to see him sort of take place as the leader, and just because I'm curious as to what threats he'd come up against with all of these new people trying to come in and take over. What threats would he face, even though he was clearly a favorite of the woman, because everyone knows who he is. He saved Zane. He was pretty much in charge once the other guy died until his replacement came. And people know his name. People know who he is, so he might be able to take over with no problems. But even if people know him, it is the drug world, so you're gonna have crazy people like Zane, and Dillon can only control one side. He's not just gonna somehow take control of the entire drug world. So he's still gonna have to go up against someone on the other side who takes Nick Ford's place. So I'm really curious to see how that storyline continues into season 3, and I hope he does take over. And if not him, then definitely his partner, whose name I also can't remember. But I'd love to see him take over too. That would actually be kind of cool. And Dillon decides, I'm gonna back you up because we've actually kind of bonded, and now you can be the boss, and I'll just be sort of like one of your subheads, I guess. I'll be like your right hand man, and sort of stick to the position that I have. So either way, I'd like to see how that storyline continues. But it kind of blew me away. That was my favorite part of the episode because of how surprising it was. Like I said, I never would have thought that she was gonna get killed off. I didn't think anyone would. I thought Nick Ford's dead. They have nothing to worry about. They're just gonna be like, hey, this guy died. Let's just take over and we're all fine. But everybody's dead now, and Dillon's really the only one who knows what happened, him and Remero. And Dillon has to really make a choice as to whether or not he wants to take over or if he wants to just let all of it go. And odds are he won't let it go because that really is his job and that's how he makes money. So we'll have to see in season 3 how things work for Dillon, but I'm really excited to see how that pans out. And then we have, of course, the other side of the episode, which is Norman coming to terms with what he's done and who he is. And with that, we get one of the greatest scenes in this episode again, which is him in the forest with his mother. I thought was a great scene because Norman actually tells him exactly what he did to his father, because he was thinking about it and he said, I had a blackout the day Dad died. And she tells him what happened, and I thought that was just a great scene because he thought he just killed his teacher. He was freaking out about it. He really believed that he did because he did. And she told him, well, you did do that. She basically confirmed it by telling him that he killed his father when it happened, and that pretty much gave him proof that he killed his teacher as well. But it was just a really good scene because he struggled with it so much. It wasn't like he was even scared to be caught or anything. He wanted to kill himself because he couldn't live with who he was and what he'd done. And I loved that about his character. I thought it was just a really good change because I thought he would just kind of freak out about it and he'd sort of lose it mentally, which he kind of did because he was going to try to kill himself. But I thought he would just be scared of being caught, but that was the last thing on his mind. He just didn't want to live as the person that he was, and I actually enjoyed that for his character. And in the end, of course, he takes yet another crazy step where when he's taking the polygraph test and his mother actually appears next to him, which in my last review I had just mentioned that they hadn't done that all season, and then in this last episode he actually saw her next to him. And I love that scene. She told him he wasn't the one who did it, I did, and that basically saved him during the polygraph test. And so he's pretty much scot free because the guy said, in his personal opinion, Norman didn't kill his teacher. So he's free. And then I love this scene when he's just sitting in the chair looking at the camera, and then it cuts off. So I'm excited for season 3. I love this episode. It was a great wrap up, and it also gave us a small plot line for what's going to happen with the drug world and how open ended it really is. They could bring in so many characters, and odds are they'll probably bring in maybe 2 or 3, possibly 4 new characters specifically for the drug world. And they also have the option to bring Caleb back if he decides to. They decide to write him back into season 3 for whatever reason, and if he really wants to reconcile things and try to figure them out. But we'll have to just wait and see. But this was a great season finale, and I cannot wait to see what they do with season 3. Comment below, let me know what you guys thought of this season finale, favorite parts, least favorite parts, and what do you guys want to see for season 3, or do you guys even want a season 3? Comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.